pre would certainly elect to just call, and he does anyway. Had the idea that carry was 3-betting only, a very tight range.
Oh, and look at this flop. Ace, king, king. Ace is full for Coverman. Trip kings for carry.
I'm the button next. I'll holler at my guy.
14,000.
14,000 is so far the amount that carry will be lighting on fire, save for another king rolling off the deck. That smell of smoke in your living room is the incendiary nature of this bet. Coverman, of course, just calling, and a 5 on the turn is even further disaster for Gary Katz, who's thinking, wow, I'm running good.
Yeah, this is quite a cooler. And I don't know if cooler is apt, given that carry did decide to, you know, take off to the races with this king 5, which wasn't mandatory, but nonetheless, what a run out on carry.
Check. Both players thinking they're laying bait here for the other.
And depending on Coverman's sizing, it would be pretty incredible if carry found a way to just call the river. However, Byron with a very, very astute check. So disguised.
49.
49,000 is the bet from Gary Katz.
And what an ugly, ugly situation this is going to be for carry after the ensuing raise.
Well, depending on the size of that raise, one has to wonder.
There's not going to be too much getting away versus Byron Coverman. There's not. He might elect to take certain hands like Ace Jack, Ace Queen, do this with a certain percentage of the time. I'm not sure which hands he does this with, but there's going to be no getting away because he's going to have certain combinations of hands in theory that he would choose to bluff, but would he implement that in practice now? We can get lulled into this false sense of security that, well, this great player is bluffing here sometimes, and I have such a great hand I have to call. I do think this is one of those hands that you need a call with, but ouch.
155,000 was the number, just over 100 more was the call out of carry, and we've seen the first huge misstep for the big stack.
Ever reminded of the purpose of checking these aces sometimes, slowing things down? Those times that these horrific coolers present themselves are, of course, problematic. And often there's not a lot that you're getting value from anyway, so easy to say when you look at the board, but what a dynamite situation for David Einhorn versus the two aces of Shaq. I think Einhorn has too much of a raising range here that isn't super strong, so you could make a case for calling, but it's just so easy to raise when you flop top 2, and boy, put Shaq in an awkward spot.
Oof.
I mean, I don't think Einhorn really does this with King Jack. He may do this with 10 Jack sometimes.
Ace King ever? No?
I think he would have heard from Ace King pre, and of course Shaq having 2 aces.
Though.
Not necessarily, but he's blocking
Oh,
Ace
and
King.
Shaq ships it.
Shaq jams it in, and of course Einhorn is going to call and hope to hold.
Call.
Sure enough, Einhorn settles on the right decision and is rooting against an 8 or an ace.
Shaq is a 8 hunting, looking for that ace, or looking to go something like 4-4 or counterfeit Einhorn. Then he does it that 8. Wow. Brutal for David Einhorn.
Eights were going to show up.
It's the tourney of the 8s. Einhorn now down to 4 outs. Wow.
He went from being in firm control of things to.
Yeah. Pretty rough to get it in a spot that plays itself for Einhorn. Calling pre with a gorgeous hand like this, swapping top 2.
He made no mistakes, really.
Right. That'll do it for David Einhorn, who had a very nice showing.
He did a test, man.
And Shaq takes him out. Short stacks, eagerly hoping there's some fireworks, as Schindler does.
Wow.
Flop middle set versus the aces.
The 8 burger right there.
And given the wet nature of this board and Schindler having these sets in his range, you might very well see Budiga for those reasons, and others elect to check, and he does. Again, a spot given the implications in the tournament where you really don't want to be raised if you're Schindler in a lot of ways. I mean, Budiga doesn't have sevens. Queen, queen looms, but he will be relieved to see Budiga check call here, which he will. The get-in range for Budiga is horrendous.
By the way, if you do get check raised, you may not like it, but you're certainly not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere, but man, that's a dicey one there. I mean, Budiga checks kings back. You know, he's got a full house. He just calls. So I mean, you know, but all jokes aside, this is
now this call from Budiga of 400,000 after three clicking to 400K pre is certainly now going to cause Schindler to ask himself some real questions about his range.
Schindler is fully aware that a decent portion of Budiga's range right now is kings and aces. Creative player, live no limit cash player, someone capable of barreling off in this situation. Certainly, I think you can rule out the 7-8 from Schindler's range, but boy, obviously a massive pot, and at this point Pratusha's hand is relatively face up-ish. Yeah. She's going to make river brick decisions for him. All the tougher, as it is one of the most brutal rivers in the deck for Budiga. My goodness.
All in.
Schindler, all in. And that'll make your stomach turn.
25.
6 spot for Budiga.
It's basically a 0, yes.
Realistically, it's just the 7s, 8s, or queens that he's worried about.
Yeah, but the question is, does he have many bluffs that he arrives at this river with? And does he do this?
2,495,000.
Those bluffs, my initial instincts were that Schindler should just bet a smaller sizing and not jam, but yet.
Call.
And he does call.
Wow.
Jake Schindler moves into the overwhelming chip lead. Brutal cooler for Budiga. What a hand for Jake.